The history is in your face. Like I said before, it's in your face. You can see it, but you don't always make the connections unless someone says, look, think about this connection. My name's Tony Warner, and I started these walks because I've done a whole bunch of the kind of regular London tourist walks, like, you know, the Dickens Walk, Rolling Stones Walk, Underground Walk, Ghost Walk, whatever. And there was never any mention of any black people at all, or black history in general. So I was like, I was kind of waiting for a walk that would tell me this history. And I waited and I thought, oh, I'm just waiting too long, so let me just do it myself. And that was back in 2007. And the first walk was out in St. Paul's. And now we have like 12 different walks and a bus tour and a river cruise, and we have a book coming out and all sorts of stuff. So that's a bit about why I started the walks. Thousands of people pass this obelisk every single day, but I'm not sure if they realize that it's a piece of ancient African technology. It was built 3,500 years ago in the Nile Valley in Africa by African people, and London is just 2,000 years old. So basically it was built 1,500 years before London even existed, showcasing African science, technology and invention. So you find these examples of ancient African technology and science and invention all over the world, especially in capital cities, but people don't often appreciate that they come from Africa in the first place. All right, so we're looking across the river to the Royal Festival Hall. But back in the 1950s, that entire South Bank was just a massive bomb site. The government announced something called the Festival of Britain, which was a showcase of futuristic technology and also a way of looking forward to the next 50 years. Yeah, so the thing about this area is that, you know, it's really popular with skateboarders and graffiti. It's very popular with that kind of crowd. And yet in this very area next to it, you see there's a reference to this 18th century iconic feminist hero, Mary Wollstonecraft, right here. Now this plaque needs a bit of tender loving care because it's kind of been a bit degraded, but it's here, right in the middle of South Bank. People walk past it but don't recognize it's even here in the first place. Well, Mary Wollstonecraft is a major figure when it comes to feminist history, but also black history, because she's literally comparing what's happening here in this country to what's happening in the Caribbean. And right here in a neglected underpass of the South Bank, there's a mosaic in her honor, as we can see. When I do the walks, people always ask me, you know, have you got a booklet or a leaflet? They'd tell me, you should write a book. And this is like, you know, 10 years now. And I thought, you know, maybe I should write a book, because one of the things you find about history is that if it's not written down, it's often overlooked and ignored. Even sometimes if it is written down, it's ignored. But you have to actually document it for people to learn from the history. So I figured it was my responsibility, not just I should do it, I should have a responsibility to actually write this history down. And that's why I did the book. Here we are, South Bank, next to the statue of Nelson Mandela. This was unveiled in 1985 by Oliver Tambo. This statue was the scene of a number of attacks upon it. Arson attacks, graffiti attacks, a whole bunch of attacks upon it, which is why in '88 it was then taken down and put back up 2 feet higher. So initially it was like about this level, but then they came back and actually made it up to here. And it's one of the very few statues to a black man in London. Now personally, I think it'd be a better location if Mr. Mandela was at the front of the festival hall on the river, where the whole world can see him as they go up and down the River Thames. A lot of people just walk past, you know, and they're, oh wow, it's Mandela. I say, well yeah, didn't you look to your left? Often people will be like, I'm going to work, I'm going home, I'm going to work, I'm going home, and they just don't look around them at all. So this is the Royal Festival Hall, and in 1951 the area was regenerated, which includes the Royal Festival Hall, which is still to this very day. When they came to the exhibition, they saw all these Caribbean guys, these black guys, with these what look like dustbins basically, because the steel pan are oil barrels that have been made into musical instruments. So for people here, they'd never seen that before. So they just thought, what are these black guys doing with all these old dustbin lids? And then it turns out this fantastic music, which really freaked them out. And actually they were listening to the steel pan and watching the steel pan, and they were trying to work out where were the speakers that was actually playing the music that was coming from the steel pan themselves. So they were really astonished, and that then, you know, sets off the kind of the trend for steel band music in this country, which even now you find in Nottingham Carnival, everything is just there, it's accepted, it's normal, but it was introduced via this venue right here in 1951. This area is important because of the London Metropolitan Tabernacle, because in 1873, the Fifth Jubilee Singers, an African-American choral group, sang here and performed in front of 6,000 people. The money they raised from their singing was then sent back to America to help build and maintain the university called the Fisk University. And that goes back to the end of the American Civil War, 1865, whereby black Americans said we need to build our own institutions. And to do that, they used their singing prowess to actually raise funds to build universities. It's a really amazing story of resistance, of achievement, of perseverance, and also musical skills as well. And in the book, we look at a lot of issues like that across the entire capital.